Mermaids?
I don't know the Little Mermaid movie very well.
I only saw it I saw it recently.
There's a funny story about me and the Little Mermaid.
Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Thriving Scrubs.
Ixalan edition.
Ixalan edition .2.
Yep.
2 Ixalan edition.
Yeah, part 2. This time we're talking about the best tribe. It's not, dinosaurs are the best tribe.
Dinosaurs are the best and no one can beat that.
We're talking about one of the filler tribes.
Merfolk today. Isn't that sad that it's been relegated to filler in our eyes?
They've always been filler to me.
They can never be as good as they once were because that would be unfair. We're doing Merfolk today. We got very excited by dinosaurs. We'll see about Merfolk. It's interesting in that they are no longer just blue. We now have green Merfolk.
I mean, there's been variants on blue. Like, you've got your man Noyan Dar from Battle for Zendikar. He was blue-white.
True,
and
but tribal-wise.
Yeah. Blue-green tribal, I don't know enough about Merfolk, to be honest. I haven't really printed them much while we've been playing, so it's hard for me to say. Kiora's blue-green.
That's true. So there are a few things that Merfolk want to be doing if you're drafting. I just want to clarify, in fact, that for these videos we will be, if we don't state otherwise, talking about these cards with regards to limited. If we specifically say constructed,
if you specifically say
it's normally me, but occasionally it's you. So if we're talking about limited with Merfolk, there are actually a few things that this clan wants to do. Most notably, they want to become unblockable.
I thought you were going to say you just want to play Merfolk.
You just want to. The idea with Merfolk is that you play them.
But yeah,
they want to not be blocked. They want to be unblockable, which is an ability in limited that can be quite dangerous. Being unblockable means it's guaranteed damage.
I find it to be a mechanic that either is terrible or great, depending on what creature it's put on. Like, we've had sort of, 1/1s for one with unblockable that are generally a little bit rubbish.
Yeah, they're normally not great.
But then sometimes you get a 3/2 that's unblockable, and then that's a completely different story.
We're going to start off with the commons, as has become our custom. And they give us little insights, actually, to the different things that Merfolk do here, because it's broader than, like, dinosaurs in rage. Like, that's pretty much what they do.
Yeah.
These guys, the Merfolk fellas, they do quite a few things. So we'll start with...
Are you telling me that the blue-green draft archetype isn't that defined, and it's a little bit wonky, and no one quite knows what they're going to do there?
I actually think it's possibly the most defined it's been for a while. Like, there is a thing.
It's got more of a purpose. Quite often blue-green just ends up being, well, you ended up with blue cards and green cards, so just play them. Yeah.
Deep Root Warrior. Costs 1 and a green for a 2/2 Merfolk Warrior. Whenever Deep Root Warrior becomes blocked, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. I thought this was a good place to start because 2-drops that get boosts when they attack. This is when it's blocked.
Yeah.
Hi, Jack here. Small side note. For the next minute or so, I'm going to be talking about this card, Champion of Ronas. I'm wrong to do that. I'm actually talking about the card Ronas' Stalwart. I got it wrong. I made a mistake. But I own it, and I'll move on and I'll improve. Alright? Back to the show thing. Became a bit of a feature, and Champion of Ronas would be the card that I would compare this to, although it kind of does the opposite of that. Champion of Ronas would attack, get bigger, and then become harder to block. This attacks, gets blocked, and then becomes harder to kill.
Yeah.
So that's probably the wrong way round, right? You want to make your cards, Merfolk, you want to become unblockable. This card just gets in for 2, gets through your opponent's 2-drops.
Pseudo-unblockable for the first few turns, maybe.
But I don't think it's definitely nowhere near Gustwalker territory. I don't think it's as good as Champion of Ronas, which also wasn't anywhere near Gustwalker territory.
I don't really like it. I'm sure it's fine, but I'm looking at it and it's not really wowing me.
Well, let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on to the other ones.
Shaper Apprentice costs 1 and a blue for a 2/1 Merfolk Wizard. Shaper Apprentice has flying as long as you control another Merfolk.
See this I like.
They're oddly aggressive. Like, there is a weird element to them where some of them demand non-creature spells, and then it becomes really difficult to draft the right balance. But if you just draft a load of these, they're common.
Yeah.
You end up with 5 of these. Like, it's not impossible.
Yeah, that is a game plan.
A 2/1 flyer for 2, we say this every time, that is a good card.
That's good, yeah.
You can't get away from that. Unless
that
you're
gets printed at Common in Eternal Masters, I think they printed a 2/1 flyer for 2.
Unless you're in a mega defensive deck. That you won't be upset about taking that card.
Don't put this in your mega defensive deck. You're going to be really embarrassed.
Looming Altasaur and Shaper Apprentice.
I mean, we quite often get a 2/1 for 1 and a blue, and sometimes they have extra abilities tacked on, and sometimes they don't. For an extra ability to be tacked on to a rubbish little 2/1 for 2, this is a good one.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Wind Strider costs 4 and a blue for a 3/3 Merfolk Wizard with flash and flying. This is a variant on the card we've seen quite a bit.
I think we've seen 2 or 3 variants of this recently, haven't we? It's a very it seems to be something they quite like.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of well costed and well balanced for a common. It can flash it like the ultimate. You flash it in as a combat trick is the best thing. You flash it and block something.
Exactly. Trade profitably with something.
Or you can just go into turn flash and swing for lethal.
Sure.
It's a 3/3 flyer for 5. 3 power in the air for 5 is not terrible, and the flash every now and again becomes quite useful.
Yeah, I think it's also people tend to. This is kind of the case with instants in general and anything at instant speed, but this kind of card tends to get worse the longer the format's out.
Yeah, true.
Because initially, I mean, the sort of big time Magic nerds, present company included, might be like, oh, maybe he's got a Wind Strider. But if you're playing a pre-release, people might not expect the Wind Strider.
Yeah, it's possible.
Whereas a few drafts in, if you leave up 5 mana, one of which is blue, and you're playing loads of Merfolk.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, the chase might be up. Is that a saying?
The jig is up.
Well,
the jace. Did you say the jace is up?
The chase is.
I don't think that's up.
I don't think that's a thing, is it?
The jig is up. That's a thing.
The jig is up. No, I know the jig is up.
The chase is on. It's not up.
Well,
Water Trap Weaver. Before we fall down a rabbit hole, this details another thing that the Merfolk like to do on occasion. It costs 2 and a blue for a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. When Water Trap Weaver enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. It is Frostlinks.
It is.
It is literally Frostlinks.
It's Merfolk Frostlinks.
Yeah.
And it's a wizard, so
yeah,
don't forget that.
But this effect is cool, right?
I like cards like this. They're good.
Stitch Mangler also was a variant. This is like they seem to be aggressive. Merfolk. They want to put out little dudes and they want to disrupt the way that you're trying to perform with its creatures, and then swing unless you take one of these non-creature rares.
Yeah, their endgame is aggressive. The weird thing about it is because their stats are a bit rubbish. You do need a sort of critical mass of Merfolk to win.
Yeah,
you're not going to be able to, like you could with, for example, an aggressive sort of black-red vampires deck. You can often just win the game with a 4-drop if they can't get anything down in time to deal with it. Yeah. I think with Merfolk, it's much more about achieving critical mass and just chipping away while keeping yourself alive.
With Water Trap Weaver, with this kind of effect, I think it does get overvalued sometimes. It is definitely not. It doesn't want to go in every deck because if you're not making use of it, the turn it comes out. If you're not then attacking, then what have you really done? Unless you've prevented their attacker for a turn, but even that's not. Not thrilling.
It's fine, isn't it? It's probably going to be quite a good common.
It'll be a
cards
decent
like this
one.
Tend to be pretty good. I like Frostlinks, and this is Frostlinks.
Yeah.
So if we ignore everything else about it, this is Frostlinks. So.
Storm Sculptor costs 3 and a blue for a 3/2 Merfolk Wizard. Storm Sculptor can't be blocked. When Storm Sculptor enters the battlefield, return a creature you control to its owner's hand. This is it. This is unblockable. This is a common unblockable 3-powered creature for 4. Mystic of the Hidden Way is the most recent one I can think of, and that costs 5 to cast. But it was a morph.
You could morph it, but the thing about Storm Sculptor is you do need another creature, otherwise it doesn't do anything.
True. However,
you look like you're about to give me some wisdom here. So
well, the card that we just talked about has a good enter the battlefield effect.
True.
Lots of these Merfolk do. The more that keep this card in mind. It demonstrates this literal unblockability, like it just says it on the card. But it's also worth bearing in mind as we keep talking, because 2 of the next 3 creatures we're talking about have entered the battlefield of triggered effects. The one we just talked about does, so it's not always a bad thing. And 3 unblockable power for 4 mana is really good. I think this is a really good card.
Yeah. The rate's really nice. I just want to throw that caution out there, because the worst imagine the situation where you end up with 2 of these in your hand.
Yeah.
You just can't do anything.
That would be a shame.
Like you have to view it as a creature that requires another creature to even exist.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there is a real downside with it. The upside is great, as it often is with cards like this, where if it all lines up, you get to do something really fancy, and your opponent sort of falls asleep while you're finishing your turn, and you're suddenly really far ahead through value. But if you're just sort of playing your average draft game and it's all a bit slow and everyone's mana's terrible, you can get yourself into a bad situation with cards like this. So
those are the kind of games you play, are they?
How dare you? I'm the draft master. Travis Wu, watch out.
Oh, God. Jade Guardian costs 3 and a green for a 2/2 Merfolk Shaman with hexproof.
Nice.
When Jade Guardian enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target Merfolk you control. So the failsafe for this is a 4-mana 3/3 hexproof.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine.
Which isn't terrible.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
Or it's a 4-mana 2/2 hexproof that pumps whatever creature's just about to attack.
Yeah, something better.
Whatever the most relevant creature is.
It's also an excellent target for any rubbish enchantments that you end up drafting. You end up drafting really bad auras that
becomes a thing.
Yeah.
4-mana boggles.
I always end up doing this. Remember when Conifer Strider was big and I would always try and play Conifer Strider?
That was awesome.
It was awesome when it worked. The amount of games I lost because I tried to do that, probably I don't remember them and I don't talk about them. But, you can end up getting yourself into a really bad situation when you try and do that.
Jade Guardian feels a bit of a filler for me, right? It's not insane.
It's fine. Isn't it?
There is a rare that makes the +1/+1 counter synergy. There's actually a few cards, but there's one rare in particular that makes the synergy. You would be picking this on a much higher basis.
When you have to defend a common with, there is a
rare.
No,
I'm not defending it. I'm just saying that is a mitigating factor. By and large, that's not a 4-drop. Storm Sculptor is much better.
Yeah, definitely.
Jungle Delver,
yeah.
Costs a green.
Yeah.
For a 1/1 Merfolk Warrior.
Yep.
You can pay 3 and a green to put a +1/+1 counter on Jungle Delver.
Nah, I'm out.
Nah, you're out.
Yeah.
Right. Here's the thing, though. I think that's how I would have felt. I don't know how long ago, but Verdant Automaton was not terrible.
It kind of was.
Sludge Crawler was pretty good.
Yeah. That's different though. That was pump on demand for 2 mana. This is I'm not arguing that this cannot grow. I am fully of the opinion that this card, if you have loads of mana and nothing better to do, will get bigger.
Yeah.
Look, say what you were going to say, and I'll rant about it in a second.
Okay. And then you have what is it? Frisking Rootweller, Sandweller, whatever that little lizard was. That was a 1-drop that you and I both thought was terrible, and it wasn't.
Ended up being.
It wasn't fantastic,
kind of deck,
But that's the thing in the Merfolk deck and in the +1/+1 counters deck. In a deck where you need something to return with Storm Sculptor, in a deck where you're going to be having lots of enter the battlefield triggers that put +1/+1 counters, where you just want to hit the board early, or where you want to make sure that your Shaper Apprentice is going to have flying. I think this might fill a role. I think it might actually. You don't want 3 of them. You might not really want 2 of them, but this could be better than it looks because you and I both basically hate 1-drops in Limited unless it's insane.
No, look, I like a good 1-drop. I just don't think this is one. I'd like to go on public record and say I don't think Jungle Delver is very good.
I would like to go on public record and say I don't think Jungle Delver is very good, but I don't think it's terrible. That's the argument that we're having.
All right. We'll see down the line. If the format's really slow, then it's going to be great. But it doesn't seem like a really slow format, does it? It seems middle of the road to me, but who can say?
Yeah,
who can say?
You can't.
The caveat is, if the format's slow, this will be better than it looks.
River Herald Boone. This isn't a creature, but it conforms to both the Merfolk identity and the Merfolk synergy. It costs 1 and a green for an instant. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature and a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target Merfolk.
Can we talk about the frog on this card before we go any further?
I do want to, because what it suggests to me is that Merfolk are really small. Because there's a Merfolk in front. Either that frog's huge, or all the Merfolk are tiny.
Merfolk are the size of like Warhammer miniatures.
Which makes the idea of dinosaurs that much better. Because you've got like looming Altasaur. I think it's my favourite dinosaur. The one that is so big that you can see the earth bend around it.
So in your mind, I don't even know if this is a reference you'll get, but you know in the Night Garden with the Pontypines?
No.
Well, for those who know, Jack's describing, Merfolk being the size of the Pontypines. They're basically this wooden family that float around in a blimp that makes fart noises, but they're really small.
Okay.
My point is...
You just picked a small thing. This card, though, start. The frog, all right, the frog. We've noted the frog.
Let's talk about what it actually does.
So, the first thing I want to actually ask you, because does it have 2 different targets? Can you target a creature and Merfolk that are the same card? Is that allowed? Because I'm confused by that. That's the first thing I want to raise.
It looks like you can target, because it's up to 1 target Merfolk. I think you have to have a target.
Yeah. Well, you have to be able to target a creature. Yeah. But then the up to 1 target Merfolk.
It doesn't say another target creature, so I think you can probably target the same one. I mean, that seems to be the point.
I would think, yeah. Even so, it's instant speed, 2 mana spell that distributes 2 power and 2 toughness any way you like, which is pretty cool.
It sticks around as well.
It's not just a
+2/+2 spell.
Yeah. And with +1, I'll keep saying it, +1/+1 counters. Merfolk. You heard it here first. Now, Dave, I have some...
I've still got a point about River
okay, go on.
Which is that, it's a nice little combat trick, but if you don't have any Merfolk... Don't play this card.
No, I wouldn't go for it.
Don't play this card if you don't have Merfolk.
I think you can expect to see this card, wheel at least. It'll come round. So
Definitely.
If you're in Merfolk...
It's a good rate.
Feel happy sending them around. Yeah.
The rate, it's not like you're being ripped off, but it's just not a very good.
If you're
it's not a very
targeting,
strong effect.
If you're targeting a Merfolk. Now, I have some bad news because I think you were kind of hoping that you would never have to, but this next card explores, and we're going to have to work out what explore does.
Right. I think I've got to grips with explore now.
I'm pretty sure I have. Tishana's Wayfinder costs 2 and a green for a 2/2 Merfolk Scout. When Tishana's Wayfinder enters the battlefield, it explores.
But what does that mean?
Reveal the top card of your library. Put that card into your hand if it's a land.
Yep.
Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, then put the card back or put it into your graveyard.
Yep, got it.
Now, that's pretty cool, right? Because either it's a 3 mana 3/3 that scries when it enters.
Yeah.
Or it's a 3 mana 2/2 that draws you a card that is a land when it enters.
Yeah.
Both of those are just great.
Yeah, there's value to be had in it. I think Explore's an interesting mechanic. I don't fully yet know how good it is. It's a lot like whenever I see a new mechanic, I really try and figure out how good it's going to be, but it's really hard.
I get the feeling that it is pretty good, and I get that feeling from some of the uncommons that they're printing. They're uncommon, and they are phenomenal. What word am I thinking of?
Boring?
Yeah, they're boring, but they have Explore, which apparently is enough to push them up to uncommon. So,
well, we'll see. It's certainly card selection to a degree.
Yeah, and it's card advantage.
Yeah,
one way or another, and it puts a +1/+1 counter on it. Now, we're going to move on to the uncommons, and this is it, right? Merfolk Branchwalker costs 1 and a green for a 2/1 that explores when it enters.
Yeah,
that for me means that the mechanic must at least be good.
Yeah, I mean, if they're putting it on an uncommon, you would hope, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's just the worst.
This is another card that Explore with Storm Sculptor. To come back to it, that's pretty good if you get to re-trigger your Explore. It's a little bit clunky, but that's a thing. So this is either a 2 mana 3/2 that lets you scry, or it's a 2 mana 2/1 that draws you a land.
And drawing a land on turn 2 is often quite nice.
That's Elvish Visionary. We're talking Elvish Visionary levels of card, which is cool.
It's pretty decent. With these green Merfolk, I mean, the connection to water here is loose at best. It's just near a river.
Yeah, well, they're almost elvy.
Yeah.
They're kind of woodland stream type.
It's almost like they were like, yeah, let's put Merfolk in, and then they just had a bunch of elves that did elf stuff. Because all the green Merfolk do really quite elfy things. They look quite elfy.
They couldn't
elven.
Yeah, but the thing is that shut up. The thing is that what the Merfolk's identity used to be was lords. It was just lords.
Yeah, sort of Admiral Akbar looking lords.
And island walk and stuff. So they had to not do that again.
Yeah.
Merfolk Branchwalker looks pretty cool, right? It's one of those uncommons where you'll be like, oh, good. I'm really glad I got that. That is a solid 2-drop in limited.
Yes, you're going into pack 3, need a 2-drop, need a 2-drop, need a 2-drop, and then you get one.
And that's but fine. It's not a slam it uncommon.
Not.
It's not an uncommon that you go, my goodness, I'm taking that over the red.
Imagine first picking this. What a terrible pack that would have to be.
Yeah, right?
It's not one of those uncommons.
But it is still a good card, interestingly.
Yeah.
Vineshape Mystic costs 2 and a green for a 1/3 Merfolk Shaman. When Vineshape Mystic enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target Merfolk you control.
So the fail case, we got a 2/4 for 3.
Yeah,
which is fine.
Fine. But better than that, it adds 2 power and 2 toughness to attackers that you've just made unblockable. Like, that's the dream. But for 3 mana, having this flexibility with the card,
yeah, it's nice.
Is pretty cool. Again, this is a card that, like, the thing about some tribal cards is that sometimes it doesn't matter that they are tribal. Like Savage Stomp is the one I'm thinking of, where if you're in the dinosaur deck and you take Savage Stomp, that's insane. That's going to be brilliant. But the thing is, anyone drafting green wants that card. You don't have to be playing dinosaurs. Whereas with these Merfolk cards, so many of them say target Merfolk that you are going to be getting. You're not going to take this card. You don't have any Merfolk.
If you're in the market for a 2/4 for 3,
I mean, yeah, that's.
You're not going to take it highly, no.
No.
It gets much better once you've got some Merfolk going on, for sure.
Yeah, which I think is pretty cool. Like, a lot of the Merfolk are specifically, let's Merfolk this up.
Yeah, let's get fishy.
Mertherfolkers.
Yeah. Nothing to say with this video.
Mertherfolkers. Right, moving on. Cumin's Speaker costs. This is a one drop you might like.
Yeah, no, I like this one already.
This costs a green for a 1/1 Merfolk Shaman. Cumin's Speaker gets +1/+1 as long as you control another Merfolk or an island.
I like this one in a deck where I'm playing other Merfolk and islands.
Yeah, me too.
If I'm not, then I don't like it.
But this is uncommon, so you could end up with a few, and this, like, all these cards that we're talking about make Jungle Delver better, right? That the other one drop that puts counters on itself. Because it's just a target for Vineshape Mystic. It makes Cumin's Speaker a 2/2. It just fills a little role.
Yeah,
to go back
as
to
in, as in that it is a Merfolk.
It's just there.
I get it. I get it, but I don't buy it.
Fine.
But Cumin's Speaker's cool. It's cards like this. There's an elf that does something similar, and I forget the name, but it's a 1/1, and it gets +1/+1 if you control the planes, and then you can pay a certain amount of mana to.
Yes, you're right. Wild Cattle is the one that you. But
I don't think this isn't Wild and Cattle.
No, it's not. It's not. Of course, it's not. They're not going to make Wild and Cattle again. But to briefly move into constructed question mark. This is a 1 mana 2/2. The thing is, it's
I think leave that question mark where it is. I think.
Well, I'm not gonna. I think that a 1 mana 2/2 is obviously good enough, but it's gonna, if it's in an aggro deck, it's going up against Ramanap Red, and the Merfolk deck is not as well supported. So I don't, even though the card is worth it, the deck won't be.
Yeah. Also, it's still pretty fragile. The Merfolk in general, they've all got quite low toughness, with the exception of Vineshaper. So the last thing Merfolk want is to go up against a similar aggro deck with ways to kill their creatures. Because blue-green, as far as removal goes, classically not that great. If you're talking about actual removal and not just shoving things to the side for a bit.
Savage Stomp. Talk to me about River Sneak.
Talk to me about River Sneak.
Oh, okay. River Sneak costs 1 and a blue. That's how this works. 1 and a blue for a 1/1 Merfolk Warrior. River Sneak can't be blocked. Whenever another Merfolk enters the battlefield under your control, River Sneak gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
How do we feel about it with just the first line of text? 1/1 can't be blocked for 2.
Well, not great.
Not great.
Great.
However,
if it is routine, if it's a 2 mana 2/2 that can't be blocked, 3 out of 4 turns for the first 4 turns, then that's pretty awesome, is it?
Yeah, that's kind of worth it.
And if you're putting +1/+1 counters on stuff, say for example, if you play Vineshape Mystic after playing River Sneak and you put a +1/+1 counter on it, that's 3 unblockable coming through, and it is now a 2/2 for good that still gets +1/+1. I think this card's really cool, and again, who is going to take this card if they're not in Merfolk? Someone who isn't.
Someone who hasn't quite figured out how to play.
Yeah. Someone who thinks that just a 1/1 unblockable is good enough.
I remember playing a lot of Triton Shorestalker when we started playing, which was blue for a 1/1 unblockable.
Yeah.
And that card sucked.
It did.
So this card's got more going on, definitely. So And the fact it's uncommon is probably a clue that what you're saying, there's a good amount of weight to it.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And there are always pump spells, and if this thing can't be blocked and you pump it up, then Emergent Growth costs 3 and a green for a sorcery. Target creature gets +5/+5 until end of turn and must be blocked this turn if able. They can't block it.
They can't block it.
Although, as a side note, Emergent Growth...
Have you just pitched me Lava Axe?
Yeah.
You pitched me a two-card combo of Lava Axe.
Yeah, but you have to... No, because it deals 6 damage.
Alright, fair enough.
Yeah. Emergent Growth is a pretty good removal spell, by the way. You can just take out your opponent's team.
Yeah, for sure.
But I digest. Tempest Caller costs 2 and 2 blue for a 2/3 Merfolk Wizard. When Tempest Caller enters the battlefield, tap all creatures target opponent controls.
This I like.
So much, in the same vein as Water Trap Weaver, this taps your opponent's team. That effect can just straight win you the game.
What was the name of the angel that did this in Eldritch Moon? I remember what it cost. I remember it was It was 4 and 2 white. Subjugator Angel. Yeah, 4 and 2 white for a 4/4 flying that did this, and that card was insane.
Yeah.
It was crazy good.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? Torrent Elemental. That was a mythic, and it had this effect on it. This effect's really powerful, and they stuck it on a 4-drop, and it will, if you have lethal and they can't interact, then you just win.
You just hang on to this until you've got lethal and then just play it.
The only thing that I find slightly interesting, there's no doubt this card is really cool, and this is one of the Merfolk cards that anyone playing an aggressive, not even an aggressive, anyone playing a deck will be interested in this card. You don't have to be a Merfolk. So that,
with exceptions, but sure.
The thing is, it kind of goes against the Merfolk thing. The Merfolk thing is that we're unblockable. We don't need to tap your creatures because your creatures can't block us.
Well, they can't hurt.
Well, it's just an interesting, if you spend all your time building up these unblockable creatures and paying prices for, playing smaller bodies because they're unblockable, and then you just play this, it's interesting, isn't it?
It's interesting, but I think, not all the Merfolk have unblockable, and to give you a whole team unblockable is going to be quite tricky, and you'll probably end up with some random dinosaurs as well that you'll be able to get through with this.
So, I always imagine drafting the dream deck where every single creature you have is Merfolk.
In your mind, you're just browsing the spoilers, going, "I'll have 2 of these, 1 of them, this rare."
I'm not going to be greedy. Just 2 Tempest Callers.
I think Tempest Caller is something people will learn to fear.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. I think it's brilliant.
It's a scary card.
I think the next 2 uncommons, the last 2 uncommons we're going to talk about, I think are both better than Tempest Caller. Talk to me. Deep Root Waters costs 2 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a Merfolk spell, create a 1/1 blue Merfolk creature token with hexproof.
Just making Merfolk all over the place.
With hexproof.
With hexproof. I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool. With hexproof, pretty sweet. So ultimately, this is one of those, isn't it, where you have to make the initial investment. You have to spend money to make money. You have to spend mana to get 1/1s.
Well, we refer to it as taking a turn off.
Yeah.
And I really don't think that... I think basically Oketra's Monument has changed my opinion of that. I don't think that's a suitable expression.
I don't think this is as good as Oketra's
Monument. No, but we both thought Oketra's Monument was a bad card.
Yeah.
And it's turned out to be really good. And we said you take a turn off to cast Oketra's Monument, which definitely isn't what you were doing. You were in, that was what you want. That was the perfect 2/3.
The thing that was good about Oketra's Monument was the value you gained by taking the turn off. Because ultimately you start getting the returns once you've made that investment of doing nothing. As with any enchantment, there's generally just an initial investment where you're not really getting much back. But the longer the game goes and the more you're doing the stuff.
I don't know. It's just it's a negative expression that in the wake of Oketra's Monument has made me think it's perhaps not quite right. It's semantics, isn't it? Deep Root Waters can net you 5-10 Merfolk over a game, and if you are
10?
I don't know, it depends. Let's say 5, and if you're adding +1/+1 counters, if you're tapping down your opponent's team, if you are making creatures you control unblockable, even if you need a creature to return for Storm Sculptor, it kind of fits all of the you can actually go Deep Root Waters into Storm Sculptor because the trigger will resolve before it enters. So
I don't think it's fair to say that this is better than Tempest Caller.
Do you not?
I'm happy to respectfully disagree with you on this one because I think Tempest Caller has so many uses and it's useful in decks that aren't even running Merfolk Whereas this is only useful if you've got Merfolk, and even then you have to have a lot.
No, as ever, I think we always approach these slightly differently because you're accepting that you'll have a few bum commons and that you won't even be in an archetype.
It's weird, isn't it? That I'm just saying, like, I hear you complain about your draws sometimes, and I wonder if perhaps it's related to overvaluing cards that don't do anything.
When do you hear me? I don't moan about draws.
In your sleep.
Dave and I do sleep in a big bed with little flop. We sleep in 2 single beds separated by a little bedside table, and we have little floppy hats.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly how it goes.
Pinstripe pajamas.
Yeah,
we'll be in bed at 8 o'clock. Anyway,
precisely. Moving on.
There's been a lot of tangents in this one.
Still not editing. We're talking about little fish people, so who cares? Like, is anyone of all the videos people are going to choose to watch? They're not going to watch the Merfolk one first, are they?
No, probably
if they're in this far.
These are for this is for the hardcore.
Yeah.
So the best uncommon for Merfolk, fight me.
I will.
Is,
what is it?
Shapers of Nature. It costs 1 a green and a blue for a 3/3 Merfolk Shaman.
Mm-hmm.
You can pay 3 and a green to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature.
Mm-hmm.
You can pay 2 and a blue, remove a +1/+1 counter from a creature you control to draw a card.
Yeah, this card's great.
This card's
great.
Flipping good.
Let's just talk about right off the bat this 3 and a green ability. How much better it is to be able to choose where that counter goes, rather than putting it on your rubbish.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's Shapers of Nature. While it may look like the same ability, it is not. It's instant speed to put it on any creature you want. So it's one of these. It reminds me of the white-black zombie uncommon from Hour of Devastation, whose name escapes me. Unraveling Mummy? One?
Yeah.
Yeah, Unraveling Mummy, in that it's just got these abilities that they're not quite as aggressively aligned, but they're still just stuff your opponent might do that you have to account for.
Yeah, and I mean, broken record slightly here, but there are unblockable creatures. It makes combat really confusing for your opponent. Mm-hmm. If you ever get to the point where you have 8 mana and above, then you're just going to be filling up. And you can start removing counters to draw cards, which is really cool. Like creatures that draw you cards on demand, particularly a 3-drop, they're pretty seldom seen. So I think that's better than Tempest Caller.
Oh, agree.
If you're in the Merfolk deck, obviously. That's the one that I saw and kind of thought, thank God, green-blue has some direction this time. Some proper,
it seems to, doesn't it? We'll see if that works in practice. But it does seem to. It seems like they've gone, all right, green-blue is a tribe. It's Merfolk. Here's what Merfolk do.
Which I think is cool.
Yeah, I like it.
We're going to move on to the rares and mythics. I think we have one mythic to chat about.
Wonderful.
Waker of the Wilds costs 2 and 2 green for a 3/3 Merfolk Shaman. It has an activated ability that costs X and 2 green. Put X +1/+1 counters on target land you control. That land becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with haste. It's still a land.
This card's pretty sweet.
This card's, really good. It's a late game...
It's a late game card.
It's a late game card, no doubt. But if you get to the late game, then you just go, there's no such thing as flooding anymore. Yeah. I can happily draw lands for the rest of the game. As long as this thing doesn't die, we'll be okay.
And you can either go all in and just put them all on one land, and just keep putting counters onto the same land.
You can target, you can target a land once it's been made a creature. You can put more on top of it,
or you can do what's probably more sensible and make a few creature lands. It depends. If your opponent's got a wrath, then
you never. I mean, and also this is another instant speed ability. This is not sorcery speed.
No, exactly.
So you can do it in their end step. You can do it during their attack step.
You can do it after they've blocked the land.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty cool.
It is, I think this is a card that gets better the more you think about how versatile it is. The more, in pretty much every phase of a turn of Magic, there's going to be an application for this card that your opponent might not even have anticipated.
Would you first pick this over a good removal spell?
I
think I might.
Over Lightning Strike?
Yeah, something like that.
I think I probably would.
I definitely want to try it. It looks really fun.
Yeah, I certainly would in a first draft.
I don't know.
But that's the whole point.
It might end up being a bit too much. It might be a bit too complicated, a bit too rubbish. But I want to try it.
I want to try it.
Yeah, it looks good.
Deep Root Champion. This might be the weakest Merfolk rare. Costs 1 and a green for a 1/1 Merfolk Shaman. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Deep Root Champion.
Well, that's just a curveball, isn't it?
It is.
All of a sudden, you're supposed to care about non-creature spells.
Well, right, it makes no sense, because it does the +1/+1 counter thing, and it's a Merfolk, so you sort of feel like you know what you're supposed to do with it, but then it asks you,
You know what?
To do the opposite.
This card sucks.
Yeah,
this card's rubbish.
In limited, it's piss. I don't think it's.
Imagine if someone played this against you in constructed.
I have already seen a mocked up deck with this in it, a spells deck, and it ran Primal Amulet as well, which we'll talk about another day.
I don't buy it.
Well, you don't have to, mate.
I pick several commons we've discussed over this for sure.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I limited. This is nowhere near a good card.
Definitely. Yeah.
In constructed, someone will give it a go, and if it's good, then it'll end up being good.
If you've got a list that proves me wrong, I mean,
I'll fetch it for you. I don't know because it's not been played yet.
I don't want to talk about that deck. I don't want to face that deck. I don't want to play that deck. Moving on.
Herald of Secret Streams.
Yeah, good name.
Costs 3 and a blue.
Yep.
For a 2/3 Merfolk warrior, and this is it. Creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them can't be blocked.
There you go.
That's the +1/+1 and the unblockable theme marrying in an unassuming body. A 2/3 for 4.
Yeah, this card's pretty sweet.
This card is like a first pick build around that I love it.
What about playing this with Verdurous Gearhulk?
Oh, shut up.
That's the first thing I thought of when I read this card, because for real, like, you don't need Merfolk for this. You just need a Verdurous Gearhulk, and all of a sudden you are cooking with gas.
I mean, all right, should we do limited and first?
I mean, yeah, in limited it's not as good as in constructed, but if you pick this early and get loads of +1/+1 counters in G's, it's going to be great.
Well, just take like most of the Merfolks, even the commons, make +1/+1 counters or can. Yeah, exactly.
All sorts.
Exploring is +1/+1 counters. However, what you just said is disgusting.
But it's true, isn't it?
Yeah. What says Winding Constrictor?
Winding Constrictor is still going to be about, I believe.
Yeah, is that?
It's from Ether Revolt. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh no, that's disgusting.
Sultai counters.
Sultai counters.
You don't even need the Winding Constrictor. Just blue-green Verdurous Gearhulk Herald of Secret. It's gonna happen. Isn't it? Someone's got to try that.
No, I think that's great.
That's
even as a one-off, you could play Uncage the Menagerie if you're going to be right. Anyway.
Yeah. No, you can do gross stuff with this.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So those are the 3 rare creatures. Oh no, that's not true.
Are we not talking about Kapala?
We are. But what I've done, because I'm really skilled at my role here, is I've ordered them in a way where Kapala comes at a time where there's a big reveal after we've talked about this one other rare, but then I forgot that was going to happen and got confused, and then you mentioned Kapala, so now all the surprise is gone. And also, this has taken about 20 seconds to explain.
Look, you're the one going on tangents. What's this next rare?
Shadowed Caravel. Now, this is a tangent of a card, but I did want to include it because we haven't yet mentioned that vehicles are back.
They are back.
They're back, and hopefully this time they don't mean quite as much business, because both Smuggler's Copter and Heart of Kiran are silly. So
Sky Sovereign's silly. It just didn't get enough play to be, acknowledged as quite how silly as it was.
It's not a 2-drop that breaks the game.
No, but it is a 5-drop that kills stuff all the time.
So hopefully with vehicles this time they've play-tested them, or like they understand what they need to do differently this time. Shadowed Caravel is a rare vehicle that doesn't have to go in the Merfolk deck, but it does go pretty well in the Merfolk deck, so I thought we'd talk about it. It costs 2 generic mana for a 2/2 artifact vehicle with crew 2.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever a creature you control explores, put a +1/+1 counter on Shadowed Caravel.
See, this one's interesting because a 2/2 vehicle with crew 2 is rubbish.
Yeah.
And then if
but
you
it's
can
rare.
make it bigger,
it's rare, which makes me think it must be cool. If you take all the Explory cards, green and blue are both colours they explore. Merfolk is an archetype that explores. This gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
I see what you're saying.
On top of that, if you are ever lucky enough to get Herald of Secret Streams, then it's an unblockable vehicle on top of all of that.
That's true. but right.
Yeah.
2/2 vehicle crew 2.
I would first pick this card.
I wouldn't, just to provide some conflict. Let us know in the comments.
I would, but I mean, you have to go slightly hard on Explore. Yeah, I probably would.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Final 2. We got 2, I guess a king and a queen, let's call them, of Merfolk. Wait, is that a king? You know what? I don't even know. Yeah, it is. Right. Kapala.
Yeah.
Curveball. Kapala, Warden of Waves. Costs 1 and 2 blue for a 2/2 legendary Merfolk wizard. Now, in the past, wizards have made legendary Merfolks that were too good.
Mm-hmm.
Spells your opponents cast that target a merfolk you control cost 2 more to cast.
Mm-hmm.
Abilities your opponents activate that target a merfolk you control cost 2 more to activate. Basically, get your filthy hands off my merfolk.
Yeah, well, that's annoying.
It's not busted, is it?
I find it really hard to gauge cards like this.
Really?
Yeah, I find it really difficult to tell how good they are until I'm on the other side trying to... Because it's one of those things where you can't necessarily... You can play against an opponent using a card like this and not know how much grief you've caused them. Because it's all internal.
Yeah.
Whereas with other cards you can tell because they're, they can't attack now or whatever. But with cards like this, what you don't sort of clock is that your opponent inside is going, I don't have enough mana to cast this removal spell anymore.
Yeah.
It messes around your opponent in a lot of ways. So this seems pretty good to me.
It does. And
the stats aren't good, but that's fine.
No, well, they couldn't be. If Kapala comes at the right time in the game, then the ideal situation, I guess, is that your opponent has to overspend on a kill spell to kill Kapala, which they've kind of wasted because now they can't kill whatever massive creature you've been building in the meantime. So yeah, it's not Lord of Atlantis. It was never going to be, but it's pretty cool. And as you say, yeah, it's kind of dependent. On some games, this will be a 3-mana 2/2, and your opponent just won't care. Yeah. In other games, it will break them.
And they might not even let you know.
Yeah, but you can ask afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. How much did Kapala break you? And they'll sort of mumble and sort of leave the room.
Yeah, flip a table.
Yeah, that's what my opponents will do when they don't draw enough lands.
Well, they do more than that, don't they? They just give the wrong results. Right, we're going to end this slightly derailed.
I've liked it.
It's loopy.
I like it. It's loose.
We're clearly not as involved as we were with dinosaurs. It was like dinosaurs, and now it's like no. Just get to the pirates.
Just Merfolk. Exactly. We'll get to the fun tribes eventually.
Yeah. This is the big bad. Tishana, Voice of Thunder. It costs 5, a green and a blue for a star. It has variable power and toughness.
Of course it does.
It is a legendary merfolk shaman.
Nice.
Tishana, Voice of Thunder's power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
You have no maximum hand size. When Tishana enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control.
I don't think this card is very good in limited at all.
I don't know if this card's... I'm so confused.
Like, the really weird thing about this card, right, is you can't play it as your last card because it just dies. It will enter, die, and then you'll draw a card.
Yeah.
So you have to have a backup card.
Well, yeah, you do.
And if that's the situation we're in, your 7-drop might not even...
It costs 7.
It costs 7, doesn't it?
Which makes me think we must be idiots and this card must be brilliant.
Or this is for Commander.
Maybe. Look, when I was reading it for the first time, I thought it was going to say power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control. That felt merfolky to me because at no point have the merfolks been like draw cards. There aren't.
It's weird.
There's one merfolk that has a draw card ability on it, as far as I'm aware. I could be wrong. I don't think I am.
There might be some more, but whatever.
So are you supposed to ramp with dorks to get to cast this early, and then you draw a card for each creature you control? Like, obviously drawing that's where the merfolk synergy comes in, is that you draw 5 cards if you control 5 creatures, and then Tishana is a 5/5. So in that respect, that sort of backwards way, it makes sense.
It's very mythic, isn't it?
It's very mythic.
It's very mythic.
And I don't think it's a mythic that I'm gonna be slamming.
No.
Like, even close to it.
What a situational mythic.
Yeah. A mythic that can be busted. It can be completely
definitely
broken. But I think that the likelihood of it being in a vacuum, being broken, is quite low.
Yeah. What kind of dream are you living in where you can play a 7-drop and you've already still got some cards in your hand?
And considering that the 7-drops it's coming up against are dinosaurs, and those dinosaurs are huge.
Yeah, context is key here.
Yeah. And maybe in another set I'd be excited about this, but if you control 3 creatures, so you play this as your, let's say, penultimate... If you play it as your last card, no, you can't. It dies.
It dies.
So if you play this as your penultimate card, you draw 3 cards, you have 4 cards. It's a 4/4 that draws you 3. That's very good. But doesn't it just get slammed by the dinosaur? Is it not too late to play a 7-drop that does that?
Am I right? Yeah, no, you could ramp to it maybe, but yeah, Tishana, what a great way to end this video about
with a proper, like, what the actual What's... Huh?
Merfolkers.
Mertherfolkers.
Thanks for tuning in.
Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, what?
I don't know
I've got
about
nothing else to
Tashana.
say
I know,
about
I'm
Tashana.
confused. I'm going to be thinking about it all day. I might add a little bit.
Tell us in the comments what you think about... I don't
No,
care.
go on, please tell us if Tashana's good, because I don't know.
If you think it's good, then, feel free to let us know. But yeah, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter. You know the drill. You've been on YouTube before. There's other videos on our channel. Watch them. We did one about dinosaurs. We were much more engaged because dinosaurs are cool.
Yeah.
We've been thriving scrubs. Good luck, have fun wherever you may be. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.